This week's parasha is entitled Vayeshev, he settled. It refers to Jacob, who settles in the land of Canaan, where his father had been a foreigner. And it tells the story of Jacob's family. We see in particular Joseph, who is favored by Jacob. The scripture says that Jacob loved him more than his other children because he was the son of his old age. Now, because of this love, this obvious and apparent favoritism of Joseph's brothers hated him. They could not even bring themselves to say a kind word to him, is what we are told. And when Joseph begins to have dreams and to share those dreams with his brothers and the family, that hatred grows even more. Now Joseph tells them of his first dream, where he says that they are all in the fields gathering grain, and his bundle stands upright and theirs bows down to his. And they say, "Will you be king over us? Is that what you're trying to say?" And then Joseph shares a second dream where he says the sun, the moon, and 11 stars come and bow down to him. At this point, his brothers have reached the breaking point, and they determine amongst themselves that they're going to kill him. In fact, they tricked their father Jacob into believing that in fact he has been killed by a wild animal. But what they do instead is they sell him to the Ishmaelites, and Joseph is transported to Egypt, where he is sold into slavery. Joseph becomes a servant in Potiphar's house, and everything that he does prospers, and Potiphar's house is prospering to the point where Potiphar leaves everything up to Joseph. Joseph is in charge of everything. The only problem is Potiphar's wife also takes a liking to Joseph and is always trying to get him to sleep with her. But he refuses until one day she corners him and is able to grab his garment. He runs off and leaves it, but she now has her evidence. She falsely accuses him to Potiphar, and Joseph ends up in prison. While there, he meets Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker, who also have dreams. He interprets those dreams, and his interpretations are accurate. They come true. He asks them, the cupbearer in particular, to remember him when he is restored as he is. But the cupbearer forgets him, and Joseph is left to languish in prison for a longer time. Now, in the middle of this story of Joseph, we see a story of Judah, one of the elder brothers, and his daughter-in-law, Tamar. Tamar is married to one of Judah's sons, and his son dies without giving her any children. He instructs another son, Onan, to marry her in order to give his brother heirs, but Onan does not want to do that, and so he refuses to allow her to get pregnant. And he also dies. At this point, Judah promises Tamar that he will allow her to marry his youngest son once he reaches of age. However, when that son grows up, she is not allowed to marry him, and she finds out that Judah will be somewhere. She pretends to be a prostitute and entices Judah to sleep with her, which he does, and she becomes pregnant and has twins. The Haftarah portion is from Zechariah 2, 14 through to chapter 4, verse 7, which speaks about the restoration to the temple, the high priest being restored, sins being forgiven. And so we see this parallel about the returning to the land and the occupation of the promised land that the Lord has given to Israel, to his chosen people. Also, in terms of life application, there's a lesson to be learned from the Torah portion that in terms of family dynamics, the importance of loving the children in the way that each one needs to be loved. Because even though Joseph ending up in Egypt is a part of God's plan and it is used for good, there's so much anger and bitterness and hurt in the family that lasts for years because of the brothers' deception, because of them sending him off with the Ishmaelites. Jacob is a ruined man for many years. The brothers live with guilt, and it is so difficult for the family to be healed. It's not until Joseph is restored that there really is a restoration of the family.